Hi, we are live in the family, well, not in the family room actually, in the regular Just Be Well room. Listen, COVID-19 stuff is so important that we wanted to be more public. You know, we have our small intimate group that's part of our Just Be Well family room, and that's what do you call it? You got to join to be in, but we wanted to make this very public. So Elizabeth will be here in just a moment. She is arranging kids. Just as we were about to push the live button, her youngest thought it would be a great idea to start crying really loudly. So she's comforting him and we'll be back. Hi, Sherry. How are you doing? We have a couple of videos that came out this week. We did a second update on COVID-19. We'll certainly want to talk about that. We did another one on the modifiable lifestyle factors. That's a huge piece of what's going to help protect you from COVID-19. Right now is the time to start taking shelter. You know, you don't wait until there are cases in your community. You start right now. You don't wait until somebody you know, hi Stephanie, you don't wait until somebody you know has this flu-like syndrome. And if somebody has the flu or a cold, they should treat themselves and you should treat them as if they have COVID-19. Hi, Kathy. And so this, and I got to use my bifocals to see this thing on, so I am stuck up, of course, but I am also trying to use my, my bifocals. And here comes Elizabeth after quieting the storm. So I'm sure
Somebody
you're very,
bumped his head.
you're very centered and peaceful.
We had to get an ice pack. Everything is well.
Good. So anyway, as an example, a friend of ours just came down with something that might just be the flu, it might just be a cold, it might be COVID. We don't know. You can't know. And unfortunately, the United States is way behind the curve in terms of having testing set up, so we won't know. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about wanting to go to work. And some of her friends are talking about wanting to get together.
Don't say that.
Well, it's true.
Right. People are just, okay, we're on quarantine, but how can we do those little things? And that's not what the quarantine's about, unfortunately. It's about just really it's self-quarantine, obviously, but just self-distancing from other people.
Social distancing
right,
is a form of self-quarantine, and you need to be thinking about that word. We're trying to not have the giant spike like they've had in Italy. And the only way to do that is to put breaks in the forest, right? If you're ever fought forest fires, which I've done, you need to put breaks in the fuel. So you make logging roads, and then you widen those logging roads, and that slows the fire down. It rarely puts it out. It just slows it down. And that's all we're trying to do with this social distancing, so that we don't get everybody sick at once and everybody's in the hospital. So here's the problem. Right now, hospital beds in New York City are 80% full. They are actually converting college dormitories into hospital beds at some of the New York colleges to make room. And we're trying to prevent that in the rest of the world, because the truth is, once the hospitals are full, we turn into a third world country, right? And we need to, hi Jody, we need to, and
Stephanie, exactly. Maya wants to have her friend over. No, I know.
Yeah, our group too. They want to have friends over. They're bored, blah, blah, blah. The other day they snuck out and did a run to A&W, which they got. I just came unglued about, and I'm not proud of that, but it's what happened. And they just don't get it, right? People just don't get it, because you walk around, everybody looks fine. Nobody dropped a nuclear bomb. It's fine. And it's not going to be like a nuclear bomb, right? It's going to be like a really, really bad flu season. It's going to be the worst flu season since, ever in our lifetimes. But it's not going to be like the world-ending plague. It's not going to be anything like the actual plague, the bubonic plague, which, by the way, now we just treat with antibiotics. But right now, we don't have a really good mainstream medicine way to treat COVID virus. There is no vaccine. There are limitations to what we can do, and the best thing we can do right now is social limitation. As I kick the tripod.
She says, I just want to be a normal kid. I say, well, you have FaceTime. Yeah,
Yep.
and it's true.
I think, I just ordered 5 Nerf guns so that we can run around the house and shoot each other with Nerf guns. Because we've got 3 boys in this house, right? And they need to just get some energy off. They're not going to go to friends' house. They're not going to have friends over.
And I think part of that you can embrace too, like, we're forced to have that family time together that a lot of us, or most of us, probably actually need. So you can pick out the good parts in having to let go of those things that you normally enjoy doing. And I know it's hard. I know it's hard for we're in a small town with a lot of small business owners, and a lot of those small businesses are forced to close. Right. Me, myself, Simply Beautiful, my boutique had to close up. So, it's hard, but there's also the point where we have, if we want to slow down the spread, if we don't want to have our hospitals at 100% flowing over, like, we can look at Italy. We are exactly in the same if you look at statistically, we're right where they have been. So really, I'm hoping that we got ahead of that curve and maybe can slow it down a little bit.
Yep. And how do you do this? There's vigilance and preparation, but let's avoid panic. Anxiety. And we have to self-soothe, but we also have to soothe each other. When our loved ones are cranking up and starting to get freaked out, it's time.
That was me last night as I was laying in bed. I was like, I'm scared.
Yeah. It's time for a hug.
Yeah.
It's time for a hug. It's time for a couple of deep breaths.
And then you can recenter yourself.
And it's time to remember that all of the hype, remember, you can focus on the less than 1% that is going to be super serious, or you can focus on the 80% that's going to be mild and the 19% that's going to be a bad flu, but not death, right? So just try to keep that in mind. The best statistics that, people keep talking about the 1 to 3%. It's 1 to 3% mortality. It's highly improbable that it's 1 to 3%. It's more like 0.6%, certainly less than 1% mortality. Now, Italy is very different than the United States. You've heard horrific statistics, but there's a couple of beautiful things about Italy. One is they have an older population. I forgot the exact number, but they have like more than 10% more people over 65 than we do. And they have the really beautiful part about Italian culture is the multi-generational nature of it. So there's a lot more interaction between extended families. So young people who have these robust immune systems and maybe carry the virus and aren't appearing really sick yet, they're still interacting with their grandparents and so on. And we really believe that that's a big piece of why Italy is having this big reaction. We don't have that society, so we're already socially distancing just from that. And then by closing universities, by closing schools, by closing restaurants, which is what's happening around us, we're creating more social distance. And then individuals have to take this seriously. Individuals have to go into social distancing. Try to keep, they talk about 6 feet. Yeah, let's make it 10, right? Let's give a little buffer, 10 feet. Now, what does that mean? That means if you laid down with your arms stretched above your head, nobody would touch you in that circle. That's 7 to 10 feet, depending on who you are and how tall you are. But that, just to give you a reference, because everybody goes 6 feet, I don't even know what that is. Well, it's how tall you are with your arms over your head. Even if you're not 6 feet, if you stick your arms over your head, even a short person is probably close to 6 feet. So you do that, and then you do all the hygiene stuff that we've talked about, right? You don't go achoo. You go achoo at the very worst, preferably into a a tissue, throw the tissue away, wash your hands or put sanitizer on or whatever as soon as is practical.
We have a few questions.
Yeah, good.
Stephanie, honestly, wish they would close daycares as much as it would hurt. Yeah, that's got to be difficult.
Yeah, well, so my son took his son out of daycare a week ago. He lives in a big city, though, and he just decided, it's time. The question, I guess, Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. What I would say right now is, don't ask what the government's going to do for you, start doing for yourself. And, it's serious business. You just need to decide what's. And some people, what they have to do is they have to work as much as they possibly can. Well, if that's the case, what I would strongly urge is when you get to the door, you strip off your clothes, you put them immediately into the washing machine, you step into a shower and wash, because you don't want to bring stuff back into your house as best you can. And again, don't make it a panic move, just make it, this is my new routine for this time frame. If I have to go out, if I have to work, I'm going to try to, I'm going to do the Spock, live long and prosper. I'm not going to shake hands. I'm going to try to keep 6 feet. I'm going to, if somebody's sniffling, I'm going to insist that they back up. I'm going to ask them to wear a mask or at least a bandana over their mouth to prevent just the droplets from coming out. And when I get home, I'm going to change my clothes immediately and I'm going to shower. I mean, that's sort of an intermediate piece where you can do.
Kathy said, unfortunately, I've talked to a friend in Florida today, and they're still allowing bars and restaurants to be open there.
Yeah, and I think that's a mistake, especially with the age of the population.
In Florida.
In Florida. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi. So, again, just make it a new normal. Don't make it a panic, right? I'm old enough to remember the first Gulf War. Many of you maybe aren't quite that old to have a clear recollection, but they were talking about CNN addiction at that time. And people were just glued to the set. They were like not sleeping. They were just so engulfed in wanting to find the next fact. Well, the facts of this aren't helping you. The facts, oh my God, how many deaths today? How many deaths today? Oh no, how many cases?
Right.
What's going on? Which state is the new state?
Those
it just doesn't matter. It doesn't help.
I've read different articles about Italian doctors saying what it's like over there, and you can read one of those and
you read one, it's enough. And then maybe take a maximum of 30 minutes per day if you want to do something 30 minutes per day to update yourself. But then the other 23 and a half hours, you got to do something else.
Yeah, spend it doing, maybe catching up on some of those online courses you want to take, or watching
Nurturing
movies
your
with
family.
the kids,
Right.
making those home-cooked meals, baking, playing games. There's so many things that we don't have time for or take time for that we can now. So I guess we're just trying to incorporate those into the day, and we're both introverts anyway, so this isn't much outside our norm, but
I don't know how to do that.
Kathy, my daughter sent me a Snapchat saying, I've come to realize I touch my face constantly.
Yep.
Thank goodness she was told to work from home now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first 5 minutes of this video, I was like, oh my gosh, my nose itches so bad, and I just want to rub it. So finally I had to rub it a little bit.
So here's an interesting thing. I've been interested in Zen for many, many years, and I just bought a new book, which is fantastic. It's called The Heart of Zen. Strongly recommend it. But in Zen practice, you go to a meditation retreat and people are sitting and they're scratching their head and they're doing this and they're wiggling and they're even checking their phone or their watch to see how long they've been there. That's not Zen. Zen is you sit and you don't move. In fact, this guy who is writing this book is the very first Zen master from the West. I'll use his colorful language. He says, the practice of Zen meditation is sit down, don't move, shut the fuck up, and listen. And by that, when they literally, if their nose itches, that's part of the meditation. It's part of the meditation. That itch is just it's a mental construct, and you just let it pass. And so that's and you sit actually with your eyes open in Zen practice. But I think teaching ourselves how to not touch our face, and I'm terrible. I'm in my eyes, I'm in my nose, I'm in my mouth, I'm in my ears. We all are. It's not just me. And it's time, and it's just a discipline. So we just need to start practicing that discipline. And you know what? The first time you tried to ride a bike, you fell off. It's just what happens. First time you tried to swing in a swing set, you couldn't make it go. First time you tried to come down a slide, you came down sideways and landed on your butt. It's just what happens. And we need to just practice not touching our face. And again, it is possible to get someplace efficiently without being hasty. And haste makes waste, right? And it is possible to prepare and be vigilant without panicking. So that's really our job at this time. What does that say?
Kathy says she agrees about cutting back on the information. I found a lovely mantra on YouTube.
Ah, good. Yeah. Whatever works, whatever works for you. Some people find prayer very soothing. Some people find meditation of various kinds. There's mindfulness meditation. There's mantra meditations. There's people meditate on the rosary. People meditate on the Lord's Prayer. People meditate on some other quote that they've heard that really speaks to them. Sometimes it's yoga. A little bit of movement can be, like a repetitive movement is another kind. Dance. Dance can be a form of meditation. So there's many. It's not just sitting full lotus with your fingers. That's just the caricature. There's many, many ways to meditate. Many ways to self-soothe and self-calm. And then, I think it's important to have conversations. Conversations are really important. Have vulnerable, open, meaningful conversations with people you love. People who maybe are choosing to do things that you see as unwise. Maybe somebody is choosing to continue to go to bars. Well, you probably need to have a by-phone conversation about why they're not really welcome to come over right now, because you're a self-quarantine, you're in a self-isolation. Because it's not just because we're in self-quarantine, not because we're selfish individuals who don't want you to get us sick. We're in self-quarantine to save the elderly population from a horrific disease. We're in self-quarantine so that we don't have this huge spike, but instead we have this low curve. This is our chance to not overwhelm the medical system.
Yeah, or people with, suppressed immune systems.
I have a very good friend right now. Couldn't have worse timing. He's just finished chemo for a bone marrow transplant. He essentially has no immunity right now. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh, I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But yeah. So, and what to do if you become sick? Should you run to the doctor? Well, for right now, I haven't heard that we have a lot of testing available even to test for COVID.
Right. It's just coming online.
And there's no treatment. So if you have those minor flu-like symptoms, the best thing you can do is stay home and take care of yourself. Isolate yourself from not only the world, but from your family. Hydrate. Do not use any NSAIDs. I don't know if you watched our last YouTube video, but those have been shown to increase some of the adverse.
There's high speculation. It's not absolutely proven.
No,
but
it's not. But
yeah, but I totally agree. Avoid the NSAIDs, and if you need some kind of treatment and you're going to use a over-the-counter medicine, use Tylenol.
Right.
We typically don't do that. We use things like curcumin or fish oil or something like that. But
to help with the inflammation.
Yep.
And then the fever, again, we said that in our last video, and I think a lot of people are aware how fevers are therapeutic and they signal your immune system to do what it's supposed to do. So allowing yourself to have those lower fevers was you increase your hydration and really come from a supportive place of the fever instead of I need to eliminate you because you're dangerous.
Or because you don't feel good.
Right, because they do make you feel pretty crummy.
Yeah.
But you need to listen to your body and rest when you feel crummy. If you're tired, go to bed.
The other thing you may want to do, you may want to designate a sick room in your house. You know, if one person gets sick, they're there, and then, you know, you do your best to take care of them with the best you can in terms of keeping their face covered when there's somebody in the room, going in once a day at least and wiping things down with a bleach solution, or if you have disinfectant available, do that. But then if 2 people are sick, they can both be in that room. If 3 people are sick, they can all 3 be in that room. But if everybody has their own space, then suddenly there's no room in the house for the people who aren't sick. So start thinking ahead a little bit about where am I going to designate the sick room. And again, it's not because, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. It's because it's prudent. If one person gets sick, can we prevent it from spreading to the rest of the family? So the sick room is there. They're eating in that sick room. They have a television in that sick room. They have, you know, water in that sick room, rather than commingling with the rest of the group in the house. And hopefully that way we don't get everybody in the house sick. We just were able to limit it to one person. I didn't read that
Rebecca Reynolds.
Yeah.
I am, okay. I'm a Lyme autoimmune patient. Miss you, Dr. Salt and Elizabeth. We miss you too.
Yeah.
I also have a cold and work in elderly service. I'm worried about reaching my people, but also keeping them safe. How long should I quarantine?
Well, until you're at least 3 days past symptoms is really the answer at this point. So, you know, it probably is just a flu or a cold, but you really, at this point in time, you need to be treating yourself like you have COVID, because we just don't know, right? And you know, unfortunately, I know people who work in the restaurant industry, and just the other day, the person is sick with a cold or whatever. It wasn't febrile, but was sneezing and coughing and hacking. She called in and said, no, we're really busy. You need to come in. Well, that's like really missing the boat. That's a really tone deaf, that's a completely tone deaf manager. We need to be taking this seriously, not because we should panic, but because we're trying to flatten the curve, and we're trying desperately to protect our most vulnerable people. Now, I'm vulnerable. I'm 63. You know, it's 65. But what's the difference between 63 and 65? You know, us boomers, I'm a young boomer. Well, the boomers are really tone deaf when it comes to this whole thing. They're still out, you know, going to coffee with their friends and meeting at the mall and all that kind of stuff. And that's just really irresponsible. We need to not be doing that.
So Stephanie says, I seen today ibuprofen is bad and causes symptoms to worsen. Is that true that you know of?
Yeah,
and that's,
it appears to be true. That's based on the Italian and the French experience. There was a cohort study done, and the best they can. I mean, it's chaotic. They're right, but the best they could isolate and figure out and control for variables using non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. So that's aspirin, Motrin, Aleve, all of the over-the-counter pain relievers, with the exception of Tylenol. It's all of them appear to have, and it's not gigantic, but you know, we're trying to optimize our risk. So it appears to increase your risk of increased severity of the disease. So it's just like, you know, in little kids, we don't use aspirin, right? We never use aspirin because there's this thing called Reye syndrome. Same kind of thing, really. And so we don't want to use aspirin or aspirin-like products, which includes the Motrins and Aleves. Ibuprofen, Motrin, Aleve, naproxen are all the same thing. So yes, now there's another meme running around that it's terrible, that blood pressure medicines are causing a problem. There's no evidence to support that. It's a theoretical issue, and it's actually one step off There's something called ACE, and then there's something called ACE2, and they're sort of one step off from each other. And the hypertension medicines do not appear to be an issue. In fact, there's evidence that certain hypertension medicines, particularly the ARBs, might be protective. So don't listen to the noise about stop your blood pressure medicine. That is a really bad idea, and it doesn't appear to be a piece of the puzzle. Hi, Roxy.
Yeah, it's Roxy and Heidi.
Oh, and Heidi. Hey,
Thank
the
you
front
for
desk
your work.
champions. Yeah, my pleasure. So she said thank you for the wellness advice. You're welcome, both of you. So what can you do? Well, don't think about an elephant. Don't worry. Right? There's lots to be concerned about. But remember, the vast majority of people that get this are going to have a mild case. The vast majority, 80%, are going to be mild. 20% are going to be more significant. 1% is going to be serious, and less than 1% is going to be fatal. So don't focus on that less than 1%. The other piece, so don't worry. Good luck with that. So what does that mean? That means you need to practice. You need something other than fretting online all day long. So you need to play tag in the living room with the kids, or you need to play slapjacks with the kids, or you need to play some other game, or you need to meditate or prayer or whatever floats your boat, as they say. You need to do those things.
And if you're so worked up you can't do those things, even just find those movies that are funny. They bring you joy, laughter. Maybe it's a good romance. Sometimes I think we're so worked up that you're like, I can't even.
Or maybe just go romance.
And then in 9 months we're gonna see. So yeah, just do those things that bring you joy, but maybe along the level of what is actually realistic for you right now.
Yeah.
And Kathy says people need to stop thinking about themselves only. Unfortunately, it's all about me society. Time for everyone to think of others first now. Sorry, I had to vent. And yeah,
Kathy, you're exactly right.
We're all in this together. We need to think of it's we, it's us, like collectively. We're all in this together. You don't need to have a garage full of toilet paper and hand sanitizer because it's really it's counterproductive. You're going to have all of it. Nobody else is going to have the means to prevent the spread of infection. So yeah, we need to really.
I saw a cartoon. There's a spaceship with aliens in it, and they're flying away, and there's a big giant pile of toilet paper in the back of the spaceship, and it says, "Our leader will be so happy we found their most precious commodity."
And really, you have to think about, like, how did that even happen? I think it happened from one photo in Italy where there was no toilet paper on the shelf, and all of a sudden we all thought, oh, we need to go buy out the toilet paper because I'm not going to have enough. When we all know that's not the case. The stores are restocked. And it's really eye-opening to see how easy it is to just do what the next person does.
There's another interesting thing. There was a meme running around that Amazon is going to stop shipping goods, and that is absolutely false. What Amazon is doing actually is they are stopping restock in their warehouse centers of things that are not considered essential for this crisis. So they are going to stock toilet paper, they are going to stock food, they are going to stock personal care supplies, they are going to stock diapers, they're going to stock all of the essential things. Now, third-party people who sell through Amazon but don't warehouse with Amazon, they're going to sell all their stuff. So, if you hear some wacky meme like the world's coming to an end, research it. Don't pass that crap along. Most of that stuff is just fear-mongering, and don't listen to it. The world is not coming to an end. It's just, well, it's more than bad flu, but think of it as bad flu. Let's do what we're actually supposed to do during flu season, which is not go to work when you're sick, wash your hands when you've coughed or sneezed or touched things, and in this case, take the one step greater, which is social distancing, and really we should
maybe
be
social media distancing.
maybe, yeah, especially social media distancing, because it's only crazy making, right?
Let's see, we're missing one. Christina and Jane are watching. Hello.
Hi. Yeah. So again, when you start to see things, when if it doesn't fit through your bullshit meter, investigate it, because the probability is it isn't true. So what can you do? We started to talk about that. We talked about stress management, movement. Now is not the time to be an absolute couch potato. Now is the time to continue to try to move. So quarantine doesn't mean, this isn't a tuberculosis quarantine with a big tape across your front door. We're allowed to go outside.
Go for a walk.
Go for a walk. If somebody's walking towards you, just cross the street or whatever. Try to stay a little bit of distance. But it's not like, this is not aerosolized as far as we know. This is droplets. So droplets, if you sneeze, if you've ever seen on YouTube, maybe you should look at YouTube. Look at a sneeze on YouTube in slow motion. It goes 6 feet. That's about it. And the virus is in those droplets, and they go about 6 feet, and then they start to fall. That's why I'm saying, 6 or more feet. So just be aware of that. It's not like other diseases which actually float around in the air sometimes for days. It doesn't appear to be that illness. It's an illness that it's respiratory droplets that fall to the ground because of the actions of gravity. Now, so you don't have to freak out. You can leave your house. You should leave your house. You should get some fresh air. You should get some sunshine, especially Minnesota at this time of year with this warm weather. It's overcast today, fortunately, or else it might be blown out on this side of my face because there's a window right there, and right there. But get outside, get a little bit of activity. That's also a stress reliever, right? So that's stress management. Sleep, we started to talk about 7 to 8 to 9 hours. Give yourself the opportunity. You might be worried you might not sleep for the whole 9 hours, but give yourself an opportunity. Don't be up doing CNN addiction at 11:30 at night. Go to bed.
Yeah, that's not the way to settle down and relax before you go to bed.
Yeah. And then
That's
nutrition.
why I was up last night.
Yeah.
I did a little too much reading before I went to bed.
Right.
And I know better, but sometimes you just get locked into that. And then nutrition, no sugar, or really try to limit your sugar intake. Think, be mindful about your eating. Try to eat. This is a great time, hopefully, to order in some, or you can do online ordering at almost every grocery store these days. So you online order, you show up in the parking lot, and a guy brings out a cart, and you could just say, "Thank you, I will unpack it," and he can walk away, right? Then you move the things in. Very minimal social interaction with that, and yet you can get groceries. It's time maybe to just get those frozen vegetables and stock up your freezer and be able to eat freshly frozen vegetables every day. If you take fresh frozen fruit, or just frozen fruit, right? You take a couple of cups of that and maybe a third of a cup of water and maybe a squeeze of a half of a lemon, and you maybe some, if you want it to be a little bit sweet, maybe a tiny bit of agave or honey or something, and you put that in the blender and you whip it up. You've now got a fresh frozen sorbet. And it's just fruit. There's basically nothing but fruit and a little lemon in there, and it's beautiful for dessert, and it's fruit, so it's really super healthy. It's not like eating ice cream. Now is the time to really take care of yourself. Now is the time to eat well. Now, we're probably not going to be carefully shopping at the grocery store, but we can have frozen. So eat your fruits and vegetables, and think about avoiding things we know aren't good for us anyway. Avoid simple carbs, avoid sugar.
Eat plenty of mushrooms if you have the opportunity. Mushrooms, we know, help stimulate our immune system. And we can also use certain supplements. And we have a video on that. Go look at our first COVID video, or just go to our website, justbewell.info. We have a little table on supplements that we recommend and so on. And then, well, let's look and see what this question is here.
Jane, I love being home and was going to say I love baking, and then Elizabeth said, watch the sugar. Me
Yeah.
too, Jane. I made some banana bread and
Yeah, so, bake, it's fine, but maybe think about banana bread or zucchini bread or some of the things that make the maybe not cookies, cakes, and ice and pies, but maybe zucchini breads or something like that.
yeah, and boiled eggs are great.
Can I have boiled eggs? I don't know. Do you like boiled eggs? Yeah, you can absolutely have boiled eggs. Eggs are very healthy. Okay. So then we talked about stress. Well, sort of
we talked
the
about stress
activity. So the 5 modifiable lifestyle factors are the movement, sleep and relaxation, nutrition. We've talked about stress a lot, I think, already. And then the last one is relationships. You know what? It's probably a perfect time right now to just be more vulnerable. Be more vulnerable about your fears. Be more vulnerable about your aspirations and your interests. Because that's how you really forge deep relationships. So this is really an opportunity. This is an opportunity to regain a lot of what we've lost as a society here in the United States in terms of slowing down. Instead of being so fixated on our phone, be fixated on the person we're with and try to really deepen those relationships, because when you are vulnerable, you actually release hormones in your body that improve your immune response. So that's another big piece of it.
That's why you always feel better when you talk about something.
Yeah, and women are so much better at this, right? A woman knows that she's just talking, and the other woman she's talking to knows she's just listening. Guys always think they have to fix it, right? It's like... I forgot the quote, but it was basically, if that guy tries to fix me, I'm going to kill him.
Jane says deviled eggs.
Oh, yeah. Bring some over.
Yeah.
I love those.
Too bad I'm low on eggs, otherwise I'd be making those.
Yeah. And hi, Stacy, and hi, Yolanda. So, what do we have for time here? How are we doing?
We've been on almost 40 minutes. But probably, if
so
anybody has any other questions.
Yeah, you're probably tired of us by now. I think we've hit it quite hard today. I think the main thing is this is a new normal for the next few weeks. Don't get into a pattern of, oh my God, I got to watch the next thing. I got to keep the TV on. Turn the frickin' thing off. Have some fun with your family. Do some interesting things. Eat some good food. Be creative, play games, but don't stress and don't perseverate. It's my favorite term. Don't perseverate on the craziness around us. All right. Anybody else with a question? Love to entertain any other questions you might have about any topic. If you have specific questions about things, now's the time. Otherwise, we're going to let you go. And I think we're gonna be doing two lives a week. Next one will be Friday, and then we're dropping our other videos. Oh, thanks for all those hearts. Not sure who that was, but thank you.
I couldn't tell if it was Yolanda or Stacy because their pictures look a lot alike.
Yeah, they do. Both got your heads tilted just a little bit.
Jane, I love how positive you both are. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I think it's important to maintain that.
Do what you can do, and let go of what you can't control. And one thing you can control is distancing yourself from others. So, and I say that in a heartfelt way. It's not like it's avoidance. It's just,
not this.
Right.
It's this, right?
Yeah, just for the short time being, and really take this as a time to do those things you haven't had time to do. Some of those self-care, maybe a journaling day.
Did you see the cartoon about how Corona beer had changed its name? They changed it to SARS.
Or Ebola.
Or Ebola, one of them. We have 2 Coronas left over. They've probably skunky. They're probably been.
They're from like a summer ago,
Yeah,
but
yeah. But
I
we're
found them
saving
in the
them.
fridge.
We're saving them. We're saving them for the day we come out of self-imposed
We're
quarantine.
each gonna have one.
All right.
Let's see.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. And
Yeah. Thank you guys for being a part of the movement of Just Be Well, and soon to launch the Peak Wellness Academy. And we will see you hopefully Friday.
Yeah.
And we'll
Stay
see
well.
you. We'll see you on Thursday. I guess we'll see you on Thursday on video on YouTube. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
If I can push the button.